and passing Project Management Institute. Preparing on your own and passing Project Management Institute certifications can be very challenging and tiring, leading often to failure. That is why you should get support from Woloyem Academy for your PMP, Project Management Professional, and PgMP, Program Management Professional Certification, or any other certification exam. With Woloyem Academy's Certification Mentorship Program, you will get the following: 8 Saturdays instructor-led teaching, everything you need to pass on your first attempt, guided by experienced professionals and trainers, unlimited access to Woloyem Exam Simulator with questions designed to be as close as possible to the real exam, access to course, explanation videos, and downloadable materials accessible via web or mobile application, flexible payment schedule. You will pass on your first attempt. That is a promise. Book your seat now. Call us now at +420 737 295 489 or visit our website www.academy.woloyem.com.
Good evening, my people. I'm happy to have you again. My name is Woloyem, and in this short webinar, what I would like to discuss with you is basically how to study for your PMP exam, right? So as any other project, you have to plan everything and basically follow the plan if you can. So my name is Woloyem. I am a consultant and a trainer for Woloyem Academy. And I am convinced that everyone should study project management because this is a life skills that you will need on day-to-day life and also in your professional career. And that's why I'm here to help. And in this webinar, feel free to ask questions whenever you want. I'm going to take you through the process I believe that works for many I've helped, and a process that could also work for you. And in case it doesn't work for you, you always have time to adjust if such plan does not work. Okay, so without further ado, let's start. So how to start or how to study for your PMP exam? This is a question I receive quite often from many students. Like, yes, I'm studying or I'm planning to take my exam and I don't know how to do it, from where to start, and so on. So the first thing in this video, what we're going to, or at least in this webinar, we're going to explore, let's say, 5 main points which I believe are important. The first point is the approach. Which approach do you opt for? Right, so there are several ways of getting ready for your PMP. And then the second point, we talk about the planning. On the third point, we will discuss a little bit about the materials which you need in order to prepare for your exam. And then we talk about the exam itself. So we will cover a little bit about it. And the final, and I believe that whenever you run a successful project and or whenever you did a good achievement, it's time to celebrate. You have to celebrate your success. And you don't need to dwell too much on your failures, because failure is part of learning. Failure is part of gaining experience, and experience eventually will help you to succeed sooner or later. Okay, so the first point of our webinar is the approach. What is the approach when you are thinking, or at least you are getting ready to prepare for your PMP exam? To me, there are 2 different approaches. The first one literally is you can do the self-studies. What I mean self-studies are PMP exam is not like some of the certification we know that are mandatory to have a training with some institution before you can take the exam. So PMP is quite open certification, and that is the same with other PMI certification. There are some, for example, the DSS. There are a few certifications from PMI where you will need necessary to have a trainer, but PMP does not have such a requirement. You can download the materials, search on internet, find from previous colleagues or previous friends who have taken the PMP, and get yourself there. And by the way, myself, this was the approach I took. And today, with time, I simply do not think that is always the best approach. Anyway, the second approach you could consider is to study with a training organization. So you have possibility to study by yourself, which is the materials are available on internet, online. Or the second possibility is to find a training organization that will help you during the journey, right? And one of those training organizations could be Woloyem Academy, which is doing such work brilliantly. So feel free to reach out if you need help. In case you decide to study by yourself, I think there is one important challenge which you have to face, right? And the main challenge is to search for the right information. When you are taking a certification like PMP, there are so many information out there. And the question you will be asking yourself is, do I have the correct information? Is these exam questions or mock example I downloaded or I purchased here and there, are they correct? Are they going to help me? Sometimes you have a contradiction between the information you are getting here and there. Someone tells you this, another one tells you something else. So you have this constant conflict, and it's really, really time consuming. So this is something you need to consider when making your decision. So once you decide, like, okay, I'm going to study by myself, you start looking for the information, whatever you get as information. The second challenge you need to overcome is to have the 35 PDU required by the PMI in order to submit your application, right? So when you are submitting your application, there are a few criteria which you can, by the way, check on the PMI website. If you have, let's say, a university degree, a university 4 years degree, you need to justify 3 years of experience and 35 contact hours. If you do not have a university degree, then you need to justify equivalent of 5 years, which is like 7,500 hours of project management. So once you have those one, let's say, done, you need, the second challenge is to have, where do I get the 35 hours? And then there are several ways how to get the 35 hours. If you work for an organization that is providing other trainings which are, able to provide the PDUs, you can use those courses. Like, you can do 2-3 of them and justify, like, okay, I've done a list of course in project management, and these course entitle me to have the 35 hours. Another possibility is to purchase the official PMP training course on PMI website or other sources like Udemy, and there are many courses out there you can purchase, watch the videos, and then get your 35 hours, right? And then another challenge, so you're going from hurdle to hurdle. So another challenge will be, where do I get the best mock exam, practice exam, so that you can train yourself before the exam date, right? So if you don't practice well, then during the exam, you might be surprised by the complexity of the questions or even the structure of the question. And this can be a disturbing fact. And then people just give up. So if you decide to go self-studies, these are hurdles you need to overcome. I'm not saying they are impossible to get. Yes, you can. Many people are passing the PMP exam this way. It's also possible. But personally, the downside from this approach is it will cost you money, it will cost you time, and then you will be constantly in uncertainties because you never know what you are doing, if it's correct, if it's not correct, because any material you find out there will always tell you, yes, we have the best, but you never know, right? And the only person who's accountable for your success or failure will be you, right? So, and luckily there is also another way of doing the PMP exam. And the second way is to find a training organization like ours, which will give you full support. And what that means, full support, usually I would say almost all the, except maybe some bad organization, but from the experience, I think 99% of the organization are trying to give the best to the customers. So if you get an organization that will help you, you will see that they will definitely try to sorry for interruption. I have visitors for my live webinar. So if you get a training organization that should help you, you will see most training organizations will be there to support you. They will give you end-to-end support, 24/7 support, the training materials you need, the mock exam you need, and also they give you, most of them give you some platform where you can play, and most importantly, you will have a trainer or a coach available to you 24/7, right? A coach that is available to you, to whom you can ask questions, to whom you can share your frustration, to whom you can even share the ideas. So, and this kind of, I would call it comfort, come with a price, right? And the downside of this approach is that it will cost you some money because the trainer will need to spend his time uh, to help you and so on. So that's the only downside. Now, as we talk about the approach, this is what it means to. These are the two approaches you have when you decide to take a PMP exam, right? So this is something you need to consider. Now, from one approach to another, the other question people often are interested to know is how much it will cost me. If I decide to study by myself, how much it will cost me, and if I decide to study with a training organization, how much that will cost. So I try to break down the cost also for you, so you know when you are planning for your PMP. There is a fee which is mandatory. That is the exam fees. So you have to pay the exam fees to PMI. Some organization will give you an offer uh, in a kind of bundle, right? So it means you have the support, they will provide you the exam voucher and the PMI membership and all this. So they will give you a bundle and then give you the price. But if you decide to study alone, you need to know that at some point, once you feel ready and your application is accepted, you have to pay $545. But actually, the exam price is about 400 $405 plus 140 membership fee. So I joined both, and that's the overall budget. Recently, PMI has released a news. If you are based in Africa or some of the region which they consider like not very economically advanced, so they have proposed a different pricing. For example, if you are based in Africa, you need to budget around $385 for your PMP exam. So this is the exam fees, which is there. Some organization will offer this in the offering. This will be included, but most organization will not include the exam fees part of the offer. And what are the other costs you need to consider? So if you are studying by yourself, it means you are looking for the information by yourself. Maybe you may buy some questions or something. So you need to think about, it will cost you from $0 to $1,000. So it depends what you end up buying. For example, if you purchase the PMI official course, which costs around, I think around $700, some courses are there, you can just purchase them and watch it. So this is roughly the envelope. So it could be 0, it could be 1,000. That's what I mean. And then you need to sum up this price to the exam fees to have the budget. If you decide to go with a training organization, you need to budget around $1,000 plus, right? So depending on some organization, I've seen online, some organization are charging to $2,500 as a bundle. So in the bundle, you have the course, you have the training, you have everything. Some organizations are offering quite less, and currently Woloyem is giving quite interesting pricing. If you are interested, feel free to drop us a message. Right. So in terms of budget, if you are planning to take your PMP, so you should be, beside the time investment, when we talk about money, you'll be around 600 to 2.5K dollars, right? So this is the pricing. So the next thing I will talk about is the planning, right? Once you have all this sorted, okay, I decide to go with a training organization, or I start to study myself. You have already some financial planning in place, you know, okay, how you get ready. The next thing is to plan the studies, right? To plan the studies. So in terms of planning, and from the experience, I believe that you need around 100 to 120 hours of studies, right? Regardless of you have an organization helping you or you are studying by yourself, you need to spare 100, minimum 100 hours of studies. And this also depends on your own experience. If you work for an organization that is mature enough using PMI approach of managing projects, so this could be quite faster process for you. But if you work in an organization that has a very low project management maturity, then it means you are facing a lot of new information and you need to study, read hard, or not hard, but you need to invest time in reading, right? So we have people spanning from 3 to a year to prepare the exam. So it's not always easy. Now, how do I try to break down these 100 hours to give you some advice how you could make use of these hours, right? Without being uh, without completely cutting off your own lifestyle. There is a way to squeeze this in. So if you decide to go on yourself, it means there is a time for research, which is not part of my estimation. So imagine you decide, like, okay, I don't want to have a training organization. I will find the information myself, read them, get ready. So this, I cannot calculate this kind of time because it depends how often you spend to research, or how often you are working on your exam. Beside that, in case you decide to take a course, whether you bought it for yourself, watching videos, or you are following some organization, then you spend 35 hours following the course. For example, the boot camp are 35 hours. So different organization organize it differently. Some people will offer you this 35 hours splitted over the weekend, or some of them, they will offer you these 35 hours the whole week. It means Monday to Friday, right? So it depends what works for you. The 35 hours will always be there. So if you remove the 35 hours from the 100 to 120, it remaining 65 hours. So it means regardless of having a coach or a training, this will only consume 35% of the time. So the rest of the 65% of time, you have to study on your own, because the knowledge is coming to you, not to the organization, nor to the trainer. So you need to make individual effort, around 65 hours, in order to get ready, right? To get to a good level to pass your exam. And my own estimation is that if you will take around 4 practice exam, or at least take the practice exam 4 times, that will be around 30 hours. So it's not only the 4 hours taking the exam, but after taking the exam, you still need to read the answers, study and find out what is the correct answers, read again the book, and so on and so on, right? So This will take around 30 hours of reading the mock exam and the exam. The rest of the 35 hours goes to what? Reading, right? So you have to read. There are several books you will see when we talk about the materials. There are several books that you will need to read. So these 35 hours could be allocated for reading, right? And I tried to craft here a typical example if you want to study for your PMP without completely making your own lifestyle very difficult. You can use the technique which I call the technique of little gain, like the secret of little gain. What that means? It means during the week, you don't block yourself from outside world to say, yeah, I'm studying for my PMP. It could be Monday, you spare just 2 hours after work, early in the morning, whatever works for you, right? 2 hours, start reading. Uh, Tuesday, you can relax, do your own stuff. Wednesday, another 2 hours reading the book. It depends also how fast you are reading and how comprehensive the material is. And this is where the advantage of having a training organization, because if you will follow a 35 hours training, then this reading will be like second, it's a repeat for you. So basically the information, you could be faster, you could start to close the gap of your knowledge, and then you can decide during the weekend you can spend more time. It means double the time, 4 hours during the weekend. So if you use this approach, you see, 2 hours Monday, 2 hours Wednesday, 4 hours a weekend, and these 4 hours you can do 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday, or you can just block Sunday or Saturday to spend the 4 hours. My estimate with this time, you will need only 10 to 12 weeks to be ready. 10 to 12 weeks, that is 2.5 months to 3 months. That's my own experience with many people I've coached. So it means you can be well ready uh, in 2 to 3 months without any massive effort or any huge shamble of your daily lifestyle. People can do it faster. So if you will allocate, I don't know, 5 hours studies a day, it means you can be ready within 2 3 weeks. So it depends. This plan is for people who have a very busy lifestyle with a lot of work and so on. So you can go this way and you crack your PMP on your first attempt.
On it.
Okay. Now, next.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
My laptop.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
Okay. So the next is the material. What is the material? Which material you need to read before taking your PMP exam, right? According to the PMI, one thing you need to know about the PMP exam is that the PMP exam is not written according to any single text or any single textbook or any book. So they put a disclaimer there, right? The reference, and they give a reference book, and it's written. If you check on the PMI website, this is exact text from the PMI website. The reference listed here are not inclusive of all resources that may be utilized and should not be interpreted as a guarantee means of passing the exam. So PMI gave a list of 10 to 12 books in which they will be using to make a question, but that's not a guarantee for you, right? And then the other things you need to know is that the PMP exam is also is a competency-based exam. So what that means, competency-based exam, the more experience you have in real world managing project, uh, I will not say the easier, but much more comfortable you will be during the exam. The less experience you have will require you to study much harder or at least close a lot of gaps. So if you have a real life experience, your gap might be a little bit closer. If you don't have, let's say, it depends where you work. You may have the 3 5 years experience which PMI is asking, but if you've been working for organizations that are not using, for example, agile methodology, now we know that 50% of the questions are agile driven questions. So if you never had real hands-on experience with agile methodology, then it might take you time to really master all those things, right? So the questions are purely situational questions that test your knowledge, your skills, and your ability to understand the processes and some of the key definition. So this information is from PMI. Now, in terms of material, PMI has given a lot of books. There are PMBOK 6, PMBOK 7, Agile Practice Guide, Examination Content Outline. This is the list that PMI has provided, that the question of PMI will come from these kind of books, right? For example, if you will purchase the Woloyem Academy mentorship program, we are using exclusively PMI, official PMI book to prepare our content, right? So PMBOK 7 edition, the process guide, the agile practice guide, and the examination content outline, and the last book, which is the PMI Code of Ethics, right? The Code of Ethics is a book where PMI is describing we as a project manager, what should be our behavior when we are running project, right? This is crucial and important to know. So this is the material. If you have a question, feel free to drop the question in the comment. I will start to answer question shortly. Okay, and in case you are using, let's say, Woloyem Academy mentorship program, you have access to a platform and a simulation where you can, even a mobile application where you can test yourself before the exam. Right now, the exam itself. So we talked about how to prepare the exam. I remember, for example, 5-6 years ago, when the PMP exam was like 200 questions, 4 hours non-stop. If you go for break, so your counter still runs, right? So recently PMI has made adjustments since 2021, and I think due to COVID and many other aspects. And now the exam is quite interesting. It's 180 questions, and that will take you 230 minutes, right? With 2 breaks. They have introduced 2 breaks of 10 minutes, which is great, right? So you can leverage it. So how it works, you enter, you do all the checkup, and then you start the load 60 questions for you. Question 1 to 60, you start to respond them. Those one you don't know, you mark them, and then in terms of timing, you should be around 75 minutes or 1 hour 15 minutes. It can be a little bit more for the first set, because your organism is still powering up. So if you can still be around 120, 100, even 130, 1 hour 30 minutes, still okay. But once you finish this set, then the system will ask you, do you want to take a break? If you say yes, and I recommend you to say yes, then what happens next? They might ask you if you want to review some question, which you mark for review. If there is none, then you click yes, and you go for your 10-minute break. When you come from the break, you do not have access to the first 60 questions because they are locked and gone. So the second set of 60 questions will be loaded, and that will be question 61 to 120. And if you want to check your timer, you should be around 1 hour 160 minutes or 2 hours 40 minutes on your clock. And then same process again. Do you want to go for a break? And then you go for the break, and then you have the last set of 60 questions, and same goes, and you should be able to finish this within time. And usually, if you are prepared by us, you should be ready to tackle this time, right? So the last point, this webinar, I plan to keep it short because the idea is to give quick information to people. And if you have any suggestion, or if you want me to speak about a specific topic, do not hesitate to write in the comment, and I will take. Once you've done all this process and you've gone through all this learning process, and you did take your exam and you pass, you need to celebrate, right? Because you have to celebrate your success. especially when preparing the PMP exam. There will be a lot of sacrifices. If you have a family, you will see that you need to be away from your family from time in order to study. So you have to be grateful to those people who supported you during your exam, and then enjoy your success. So this is the message, or at least today, we are now at the end of today's webinar. I plan to keep it in 30 minutes. If there will be some questions for me to answer. If not, this is it. Feel free to write the comment in the comment. Whenever you have a question, or feel free, you will see in the description of the video the contact details, how to reach out to me. Without further ado, I would like to thank you and enjoy your evening.